How you doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal. And arcade sports games were typically they never were just straight simulations, because that would have been dull and would have taken way too long to play through on a quarter. And arcade owners need to get y'all in and off their cabinets within 3 minutes, right? So, typically, makers of arcade games would play fast and loose with the rules set for these sports, do different things with these sports, and make something drastically different from what we typically got. And today's game is a prime example of that. Only problem with today's game was that the NES port of today's game was never released. It was finished. It was approved for manufacture and shipment. I think it even got a little coverage in Nintendo Power. But by the time it was set to release in 1993, there was a Super Nintendo version. And yeah, it served no purpose on the NES and Super Nintendo in 1993. Nor did it serve a purpose when there was also a Genesis version, a Game Boy version, and the TurboGrafx-16 version of the game. While the arcade version of this game was handled by Williams, the NES, basically all the home ports were licensed to Taito. So this was a Taito game. Today, we're going to take a look at the NES version of Hit the Ice. Now, while the other versions of Hit the Ice were just straight ports or straight conversions of the arcade title, the NES version is a little different in that there's a whole quest mode in here, like a straight up RPG. You random battles and all. The random battles consist of like minute-long games against random teams. This game is essentially arch rivals if arch rivals were a hockey game. You pick a defenseman and a forward and a goalie. And those two, that defenseman and that goalie, play against another team consisting of a defenseman and a goalie. Defenseman and a forward with a goalie chilling in the cut. And yeah, you just head up against each other. Because there's not a lot of back and forth as far as different players on the field, is just 2-on-2 with the goalie. It's a faster game, and honestly, it's a lot more chaotic than you would probably think it would be. But Hit the Ice was always a good time. This NES version is still a good time. Is it better, in my opinion, than, say, Blades of Steel or Ice Hockey, which were the pinnacles of hockey games on the NES? No, it's not. But is it better than Wayne Gretzky Hockey? Absolutely. Because Wayne Gretzky Hockey is trash. Absolute, utter gutter water. But yeah, Hit the Ice on the NES, if you can figure out a way to play it Repro Kart or ROM or what have you, is a fun time. And it's a lot different from the other console ports, or the other home ports rather, because of the inclusion of that quest mode, which is something that you didn't really see in sports games outside the early TurboGrafx 16 games like Power Golf and Victory Road and stuff like that. Now, if you decide you want a copy of Hit the Ice, yeah, the other home ports are relatively inexpensive. You can get one for about $15, at least the Super Nintendo and Genesis versions. As far as this NES version, though, you'll need to track down a repro person that does repro carts. They'll probably sell it to you for $30, just like Panic Restaurant and other repro carts I've told you about. Or you can track down a ROM. Yeah, I'm advocating for ROMs now because resale prices are nuts. But there really aren't any prices out there in the wild for this one. So seek out your local purveyor of reproduction carts. See if you can get one. You know? It's easy. So easy, in fact. A hockey player that caught a puck upside the head can do it. But this has been the 8-Bit Animal. And I'll catch you beautiful people tomorrow. Tomorrow. Wait, you looking for that dude? And what's he doing in Africa? Nah, let the snakes get him.